7:16 the time. My name is Bob. It's BS with Bob Schmidt. Loy Vickers joining me now, an insurance industry expert. And Loy, appreciate you joining us this morning. Wanted to talk about a couple of different things, including, the hurricanes down in your neck of the woods with Hurricane Harvey destroying a lot of Houston, and then up through Florida with Hurricane Irma, and then we've got Maria touching down in Puerto Rico. I mean, we've got a lot of America, a lot of the country, and a lot of American, Puerto Rico being a territory. That's a lot of land and a lot of claims that are going to be thrown at the insurance companies here, if they haven't already started within the next couple of months and so.
Yeah. In Texas, there's about 30 counties affected. In Florida, I've heard through the grapevine that there's going to be roughly 3 to 4 million claims filed, and who knows what's going to happen down in the Puerto Rican and Virgin Islands area, because there's such widespread damage there as well.
So what in a situation like that? What happens? I mean, how do those things get paid out?
Well, it's really a long process, Bob. Because 9 times out of 10, when these events happen, the people are not even able to get back in their houses for a few days. And in Texas, there's a kind of a unique situation going on, because if you're within the 10 miles of the coastline, you're basically being covered by the TWIA program, which is a Texas Windstorm Insurance Association. And there's some timelines involved that people don't really even know about that's going to come into play. And they're busy trying to figure out what's going to happen next, how to get back in their house, how to put their lives together, not knowing that there's really a ticking time bomb out there from a timeline standpoint that people have to reply to their insurance company and those types of things. And so it's kind of a double whammy, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if you're in that situation, Loy, if you had damage to your house and you're not able to even live at your home right now, which I'm assuming a lot of people aren't, how do they go about even finding that information out that, hey, there's a timeline here. You have to at least let us know that you need our help. To me, that just seems like it opens up that company to lawsuits and stuff if it's that short of a window.
Well, and I think you're going to see a lot of that. There was some legislation passed called the Blue Tarp Laws in Texas that were supposed to help with the insurance company claims and that kind of thing. And in reality, after the storms and the magnitude of the storms that we had, it's my opinion that I think we're going to see even more lawsuits ever being filed after this storm because of these things that people don't know about.
Now, with something like this, where there is obviously millions of dollars that are going to be paid out, billions I should say billions with a B. I thought I read somewhere $190 billion is what the Hurricane Harvey cost. Then you add Hurricane Irma to that, and other hurricanes and other problems that are happening. Are the insurance companies able to pay all that stuff and still stay solvent, or are we going to see insurance companies then end up folding because of this?
Well, in every storm that I've ever worked, and I've been working hurricane claims since 2003, every storm that I've worked, we always see 1 or 2 companies that do go out of business. And in that case, most of the time, especially in Florida and Texas, there's a guarantee association that will step in and help pick up to an X number of dollars, depending on the type of property that you have. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, most insurers are solvent enough to weather the storm, so to speak.
But then in order to pay that off, so that happens down in Texas, and let's just say, for example, that we use, I don't even know if this is the company or not, but USA Insurance, and they cover people all across the country, and a lot of their people are down in Texas. They're paying out $1 billion in Texas. Then don't they have to, in turn, then jack all the prices of the other 49 states up in order to cover that claim or the claims that were paid out in Texas?
Well, that's a kind of a double-edged sword question, but I think you're going to see premiums increase anywhere from 0.5% to 1% across the nation after the storm. Usually, they say that they're not going to increase your premiums due to a catastrophic event. However, in just about all cases, we see premiums go up, especially by zip code is usually the way that they do it. But in this particular case, in Texas, with 30 counties being affected, I think you're going to see a more widespread increase go into effect to help cover part of that loss.
Now, actually, 0.5% to 1% is a lot less than what I was thinking. I look at in the paper today in La Crosse, or was it yesterday? I don't know. Anyway, in the last couple of days, I saw that our energy company is looking to increase rates by up to 10%. For electricity or our gas, and that's kind of, it seems like that's the norm. You look at what the hospitals charge every year, 7 to 10%, sometimes even higher than that, and that's gotten to be an accepted practice where, an insurance company which is paying out in order to help people basically rebuild their lives, if it's only going up 0.5%, I mean, I kind of hate to say that, but you know what I mean? That doesn't seem like it's a whole lot of money.
Yeah, well, but if you look at the sheer volume of numbers, if you've got 10 million people that are insured and you're going up 0.5% to 1% on their claims, then, or not claims, but their premiums, then it's a lot easier to understand why it would be such a small amount. But and it could be more. I'm just speculating that that's what's going to happen at this point because. In this storm, we don't know where that number is going to come in at. You mentioned $190 billion from Harvey, and that's going to be well above Katrina, which was the number one storm, by about $80 billion. So Harvey, based on the numbers that you gave earlier, that would put Harvey in the number one spot. And so, now we have Irma that came through and hit Florida as well, and if they have 3 to 4 million claims there, it could very well be in the top 5 as well. So,
I mean, and to me, it's just astronomical to think about this, Loy, that we could see, do you think that people will end up getting back to having normalcy in Houston?
At some point in time, they will. I was actually in Houston yesterday looking at some of the flood damage, and the client's house that I was actually looking at was near the San Joaquinto River, and his house sits on stilts because it is in a floodplain. In order to build there, it has to be elevated. And he was 27 feet above the normal water level, and he had 15 inches of water inside his house.
So
and to stand there on the porch and look at that, to realize how much water came through there is absolutely mind-boggling. And until you've actually been there, the pictures that you've seen just don't do it justice.
So he was 27 feet above, and he had 15. So he had 27. So basically 28 feet 3 inches worth of water that was around him.
Correct.
Holy cow!
Exactly.
How does somebody overcome that? How much insurance should somebody have?
Well, if it depends on the type of insurance that you're talking about. But in this particular case, I'm assuming we're talking about flood insurance.
Well, I'm just thinking, just like house insurance in general. So I mean, I don't live in a floodplain, but there are homes in my area that are in the floodplain, and I get that they have to buy a special flood insurance through the federal government. But just for a regular old, home, how much insurance should you have on a home?
Well, it depends on the area, and if you're in a floodplain and you own your home, then you're not required to buy flood insurance unless you want flood insurance. And so, if you have a mortgage on your home, then you're required to have flood insurance, period. But I think what you're going to see, Bob, is over a period of the next couple of years is all the flood maps, especially in the Houston area, are going to be redrawn, and people that have not previously been in the floodplains will now be in the floodplain area, and be subjected to this. And so, this was such a strange storm. Like I said, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've never seen a storm come in, basically park over an area and just dump feet of rain, not inches of rain, into a specific area. And, as a result, that's what caused a lot of the flooding issues that they had in Houston.
What about making that claim? Is it difficult, and the payoff's going to be quick, or are they going to be dragged out over years?
It's going to be dragged out over years. It always is. Usually within the first 30 to 60 days of the storm, they're going to come out and assess the damage, especially in the real close areas to that. And then as you get further from that date, the money seems to dry up from the insurance company, and they want to fight more and more about what's actually owed. But in reality, if these folks that are dealing with these storms are not familiar with their policy, they're at a disadvantage when they're dealing with the insurance company.
And I think a lot of people probably don't realize you can negotiate too with your insurance company. If they offer you X amount of dollars, you can say no, and sometimes they'll give you more. When it comes down to it, let's say, okay, for ease of math, if somebody had a $100,000 policy, what are the chances of somebody getting $100,000 from the insurance company to replace their stuff and their house?
Well, if they had a $100,000 policy and their house has basically been wiped off down to the foundation, chances are pretty good you're going to get that.
Okay.
But if the damage is hidden, if it's not readily visible, if you are unsure what's in the policy and the guy comes in and starts saying, no, we're not going to cover that, we're not going to cover that, and you've not read your policy and you don't know what's in it, then you're at a disadvantage, and that's where someone like myself would be beneficial, because we're public insurance adjusters. We work specifically for the homeowners.
Okay, so people hire you to do that. So people will, I'll call you up and just say, hey, I got storm damage. Can you come look my policy over and help me to get the best claim that I can get?
Absolutely. That's what we do every single day.
Oh, wow. And do people know that you guys even exist? I don't think I did until right now.
Well, and that's the real, I guess, fallacy with our industry. We haven't done a real good job educating people that there are people like us out there that work specifically for you. And, the problem with that is that the insurance adjuster that comes from the insurance company, while he may be a very nice guy and has good intentions to try to help you, in reality, he works for the insurance company, and he has to do what they want them to do. That's what puts us on the level playing field, is that we're not bound by that, and so we're looking at any damage that can be attributed to a storm and putting it into an estimate so that it can be paid by the insurance company.
Loy, how do we find out more information about your business, about Empire Republic Adjusters?
Well, you can check us out on the web at empirepublicadjusters.com. If people have any other questions, most states have organizations like the one I'm involved in here in Texas, which is the Texas Association of Public Insurance Adjusters. I know there's a national Association of Public Insurance Adjusters and one in Florida as well.
Uh-huh.
And so if folks need help with that, I would strongly recommend getting someone who can assess the damage from your point of view and make sure that you're getting paid everything that's due you under the policy.
That's great advice. Loy, thanks a lot for joining us this morning. From EmpirePublicAdjusters.com, Loy Vickers, my guest, an insurance industry expert. Thank you very much for your expertise this morning.